It is 6 p.m. on April 1st, 2025, and I'm going to call this regular City Council meeting to order. Right now, we have Councilmember Vasquez, Cox, and Deputy Mayor and myself present. I think online we have, I think a couple council members are going to join us online. I'm not sure if they're on yet. We didn't see them. But we may have a couple more council members join us online. And with that, if you're able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I also want to acknowledge that we, the City of Lacey, are on the ancestral land of the tribal people of the Treaty of Medicine Creek, including the Nisqually Indian tribe and the Squaxin Indian tribe. And with that, can I get a motion to approve this evening's agenda and consent agenda items?
Move to approve agenda and consent agenda as published.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Then that motion unanimously carries. We have approved agenda and consent agenda. And first up on our approved agenda is proclamations. Do we have any other council members who are joined us online?
2, 2, and 2.
Yeah, just go 2, 2, and 2. So 2, 2, and 2? Okay. We'll start with our first proclamation.
Whereas the Fair Housing Act, enacted on April 11, 1968, passed into federal law to eliminate racial segregation and end housing discrimination in the United States. And whereas the Fair Housing Act prohibits housing discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, familial status, and national origin, and commits recipients of federal funding to affirmatively further fair housing in their communities. And
whereas the City of Lacey is committed to the mission and intent of Congress to provide fair and equal housing opportunities for all, and whereas our social fabric, economy, health, and environment are strengthened in diverse, inclusive communities, and
whereas acts of housing discrimination and creating barriers to equal housing opportunity are contrary to common sense of decency and fairness for all, and whereas more than 50 years after the passage of the Fair Housing Act, discrimination persists and many communities remain segregated, and
now, therefore, I, Andy Ryder, Mayor of the City of Lacey, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2025 as Fair Housing Month in the City of Lacey, and I encourage all community members, businesses, and organizations to provide and advocate for equal housing opportunities for all. Signed by myself, Mayor Andy Ryder, on this date. And Mark, can you come forward? Great. Want to say a few words?
Thank you, Mayor Andy, and council members, and those who are here, citizens of Lacey and audience. I just want to say a few things. I think one of the things that we look at, fair housing, is something that I think we all strive for. I'm sorry, my name is Mark Inobayashi. I'm a president of Thurston County Realtors this year. And as you know, in our current political environment, you might have the far left, far to right, somewhere in the middle. We're very divided, or we might have our own political beliefs. But one thing that I think all of us could believe, regardless of your believe in how the country should be is that everybody should have a housing, whether you're renting or as an owner. And I think a fair housing, meaning equal housing, is very important, I think, for each one of us. Even as a realtor, we have a bad history. Our own code of ethics in 1924 basically said the property value was more important than giving an equal opportunity to all. And we believe that. As an association, we actually campaigned against 1968 passing of fair housing law because we believe the property value was the most important thing other than giving an equal opportunity. Of course, that is not who we are today. Today, we are a proponent of fair housing. Regardless of our belief, regardless of our strategy, the housing is important to us. And I believe that every citizen in the city of Lacey and this country believe that as well. And a lot of the issues that we have today have to do with fair housing or housing, homeless issues, economic issues. A lot of them have to do with housing. But hopefully, with the city of Lacey proclaiming this to be the Fair Housing Month, but hopefully our goal as an association, as a citizen, and I think as a city council and fellow citizen is, in the future, the unfair housing become a history, not a present or the future in our country. And thank you very much, City of Lacey, for declaring this Fair Housing Month. Thank you very much.
And we'll go on to our next proclamation, which is our proclamation for Earth Day.
City of Lacey official proclamation. Whereas Earth Day was created 55 years ago, recognizing the importance for everyone to protect the planet on which we live, and whereas all life forms on Earth have a right to a healthy, sustainable environment, and
whereas the global community now faces extraordinary challenges such as environmental degradation, global health issues, climate change, food and water shortages, and whereas all of us have an obligation to preserve the Earth's beauty as well as its resources, this obligation extends not only to today's generation, but also to the future generations who will inherit our planet from us. And
whereas Lacey exemplifies the ethos of Earth Day by its continued commitment to conserving water and energy, reducing carbon emissions and waste, and maintaining its Tree City USA designation, and whereas we proclaim Earth Day, we recognize our obligation to live up to the significance of environmental stewardship every day, and
Now, therefore, I, Andy Ryder, Mayor of the City of Lacey, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025, as Earth Day in the City of Lacey. I encourage all community members to be aware of their impacts on our environment and to participate in stewardship opportunity to preserve local resources. Signed by myself, Mayor Andy Ryder, on this day. And Allie? Brown? Yeah, Allie. Here you go. Thank you so much. Say a few words.
Yeah, thank you. Mayor Ryder, Deputy Mayor Miller, and Council, thank you so very much for having me. My name is Allie Brown, and I serve as a Water Resources Specialist for the City of Lacey's Public Works. It is an honor to stand before you tonight to accept this Earth Day proclamation. This year marks 55 years of Earth Day in the United States, a movement born from grassroots action to protect our planet and its delicate ecosystem. As humans, we are deeply connected to these systems. Our survival and well-being depend on them. That's why collective action is essential to safeguarding our environment and our future on this planet. This year, the City of Lacey is proud to collaborate with community partners on two special Earth Day events, both at Woodland Creek Community Park. The first is an Earth Day celebration on Saturday, April 19th, Partnering with Thurston County Public Works, this family-friendly event will showcase practical ways to reduce waste, conserve resources, and recycle responsibly. The second event is Lacey's Earth Day Challenge on Saturday, May 3rd, also at Woodland Creek Community Park. This event is in collaboration with the Park Foundation and will build on last year's success, which drew over 150 volunteers. This year we'll focus on riparian restoration in Woodland Creek, highlight past projects, and offer educational activities around salmon habitat and enhancement. I am deeply honored to represent the City of Lacey in our mission to protect the environment and restore local natural areas and critical salmon habitat. I look forward to engaging with our community, advancing this critical work, and shaping a sustainable future together. Perhaps I will see some of you there. Thank you.
Thank you. And our last presentation will be our Arbor Month and tree presentation. As you see, we have some beautiful trees from the city of Yelm every year. And for as long as I can remember, we've been exchanging trees with the city of Yelm for our Arbor Day celebration. And so with that, let's get started with our official proclamation.
City of Lacey official proclamation. Whereas in 1872, Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And
Whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife, and
Whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products, and whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance economic vitality in business areas, and beautify our community, and
Now, therefore, I, Andy Ryder, Mayor of the City of Lacey, on behalf of Lacey City Council, to hereby proclaim the month of April 2025 as Arbor Month in the City of Lacey. And I encourage all community members to support efforts to care for our trees and woodlands and to plant trees to provide beautification for future generations to enjoy. Signed by myself, Mayor Andy Ryder, on this date. And Chris, are you here from City View? One more picture for posterity. A few words and talk about these beautiful trees you have here.
Well, thank you so much, Mayor Ryder, members of council, City of Lacey staff, and citizens for having me this evening. The City of Lacey was inspired by the hard work and dedication the City of Lacey shows regarding the maintenance and protection of our urban forests. This inspiration led to the City of Yelm receiving our 29th consecutive recognition as an Arbor Day Tree City. It's been a pleasure having Lacey as our sister city, and we are grateful to celebrate another Arbor Day with you. Arbor Day is not just a chance to recognize everything we do for trees, but everything trees do for us. Whether providing cooling shade on a hot day, minimizing damage wind gusts can cause to buildings and structures, or the beauty they bless us with. Please take time to observe all of the beauty that surrounds us and acknowledge the hard work and dedication expended protecting our urban forests. We gifted a unique tree this year. It's actually a crimson curled willow tree. So I thought that was unique and interesting. Thank you all so much for having us. And again, it's been an honor working with Lacey all these years on Arbor Day and the Tree Exchange. And we have our Arbor Day coming up on Friday, April 25th, which includes an art show from the local schools. All right, well, thank you all so much.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And all the years we've been exchanging trees, actually, I donated a couple trees that were from my yard that's in now in one of your parks. So it's been great. And then we'll make sure we have a Lacey representative for your Arbor Day celebration there like we always do. So thank you for coming. Really appreciate it. So next up on our agenda is public comment, and we have quite a few people signed up for public comment. It's good to see that. The first person we have signed up for public comment is Nancy for talk about rent ordinance. And so each speaker will be allowed 3 minutes to speak. So please provide your name, your city of residence, and your connection to Lacey and the subject matter of your comments.
Hello. My name is Nancy Shorn, and I live at the Reserve at Lacey, and I'm a Lacey resident, obviously. I was here on November 5th of last year to approach you guys about allowing to be able to get a renter's ordinance put into effect. And what this is it has certain provisions that landlords in the city of Lacey won't be able to do, such as raise a whole bunch of rent, like raise rent up $105 in a year, and pet deposits. They won't work with us on pet deposits. But this, and you all got this. I sent it ahead of time, so it should all be in your email. Anyway, it's similar to the Olympia City Council one that they did, and it's supposed to help with housing code in Lacey. The paper I have presented to you provides additional protections for Lacey renters, such as the rental unit has to be clean. It can't be just rented out for and not being cleaned. That's happened several times at the Reserve at Lacey. Rent increases, notices they like I said, go way up and above 10% for a rent increase. And those of us, we're on a we're on 55 and above. We're all senior citizens. So for somebody to get that kind of a raise when you're on Social Security, that's a real hardship. And so what I'm asking is that we will be able to sit down and talk about this, so that we can amend the Lacey Municipal Code to be able to get this renter's paper in. Olympia, we went to a meeting with Olympia, and they've had stupendous success with this. Questions, please?
This is not a dialogue, but we really appreciate your comments, and this council will talk about next steps. Okay. Thank you. So next up, on the same topic, is it Diane? Yes. Or do you not want to speak?
She may have just signed in to say that she was here.
No? Not going to talk? Okay. Then our next speaker is Mark Brown for Metropolitan Park District. You know the...
I beg pardon?
You know the deal, former Mayor Brown?
All right. Well, Mr. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Council, City Manager, City staff, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. My name is Mark Brown, a 50-plus year resident of Lacey, and I'm here to urge the Council tonight to take favorable action on Resolution 1116 and advance to the voters a ballot proposition to create a Metropolitan Park District here in the City of Lacey. As I think you all know, I was one of 15 folks that you appointed to the Parks Improvement Funding Working Group. We were created specifically to advise you on how to address a near $60 million challenge associated with needed new parks and recreation projects and facilities, and a near $6 million need to address deferred maintenance and replacement costs. Taking favorable action on this resolution would align with the unanimous recommendations of our working group. Our months-long effort included a review of every conceivable funding option or mix to address this critical funding need. In my opinion, creation of a metropolitan park district is the only way to meet the need with predictable, sustainable, sufficient, and long-term funding. Let me just close by saying when I served on this council, including my 7 years as mayor, I knew that Lacey would become the largest city in Thurston County, and we have. But I also wanted Lacey to be a model city, and we are. And I believe that a robust parks and recreation program is a critical local government function and part of what we expect and need from local government. Passage of this resolution and approval of Prop 1 by the voters in August will give the city greater resources dedicated exclusively to parks and recreation, give you greater bonding capability, provide greater accessibility for our citizens, and this, I think, is extremely important, more opportunities for partnerships with others in this community. So I want us to build and operate a model parks and recreation program. I know we're making strides in that direction, and this is a logical next step. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to participate with this remarkable group on the working committee, and good luck as you consider this resolution.
Thank you, Mayor. Next up, we have Ruth. Do you want to talk?
Good evening. I'm Ruth Weigelt, and I do live in the city of Lacey, and I've lived in the city of Lacey for over 50 years. And so Mayor Ryder, Deputy Mayor Malcolm, and council members, staff, and community members. I've had the unique opportunity over the years to participate in the Parks Department in many ways. And when I started thinking about that, after my kids graduated and were gone, I also had the opportunity to help fundraise for this stage at Hunnemer Park, along with Ken Balsley and Jim Sheeler. Oh my goodness, I saw a picture of that here not too long ago. So, yeah. So, but more recently, I've been able to work on the parks outreach team, and I interviewed a lot of people that were in our parks and participating in the events that were going on. And it became clear to me that people really appreciated our parks, and it really improved their quality of life. So this tells me that it's important that we invest in the future of our parks. I have also had the opportunity firsthand to see how the parks attract regional and national events, and this is a huge impact to our economic community, our local economy. Since the beginning, I have served on Lacey Spring Fun Fair and the city's largest two-day event. What a positive impact that our recreational opportunities have on our community. So, recently serving on the Parks Improvement Funding Group with a variety of voices and perspectives, it was very interesting, and I want to thank you for doing such a good job at choosing a real variety, age, and so we reviewed the parks expansion and replacement projects identified in the 6-year capital improvement program, and recommended an MPD funding strategy. I couldn't see any other option that was viable. Please approve this resolution so we can have a sustainable parks funding can be an option to move forward for the future of our parks system. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You nailed it right on time. Very good.
Good. Okay.
So next up is our former deputy mayor and poet laureate, Cynthia Pratt.
So to repeat, I'm Cynthia Pratt. I'm a resident for over 50 years in the city of Lacey, and I'm speaking on support of the Metropolitan Park District. Mayor Ryder and Council, thank you for letting me comment. When the city was interested in a Metropolitan Park District, or MPD, in the past, I wholeheartedly supported this endeavor. I have not changed my opinion. I still support the City Council's approval of an MPD by approving Resolution 1166. I now belong to the Park Foundation, and it is in my opinion it would benefit the city of them as well if the city had an MPD. With additional monies, the city would be able to promote so many other kinds of things along with our parks and trails. Taking the long view, this amenity of these amenities themselves would bring in tourists, which would stay in our hotels and eat in our food establishments, thus improving our economy. We have wonderful parks and trails, but these need funds for our upkeep. For instance, the city is in the process of developing Greg Cuyo Park. Not only will this park keep protecting Woodland Creek, it will provide some of the best walking trails and park amenities available in Thurston County. An MPD will help the city to not only help bring this park to fruition, but make sure it is maintained. And last, but definitely not less, is our RAC, a well-used park, but one that struggles for funding to keep in the condition it needs to stay in. A well-maintained trail and park system provides a healthy outlet for our residents. So to better provide for our residents' well-being, we need a Metropolitan Park District. Please approve Resolution 1166. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Deb Clemens.
All right, good evening. I am also here to speak in favor of the Council's approval of Resolution 1166 to create a Metropolitan Park District. We know that parks, natural spaces, trails, recreational facilities, and programs are essential to having a healthy community and increase the quality of life within a city. Furthermore, parks funding can help leverage partnerships in community with organizations such as North Thurston Public Schools, the YMCA, and countless other nonprofit organizations, stakeholders, and service clubs. Dedicated city parks funding would allow the city to extend its reach through vital partnerships, since we are all serving the same children and families within our community. In addition, parks, culture, and recreation spaces and programs offer job opportunities to many students and adults in Lacey, whether it's through lifeguarding, instructing a class, contracting with a business owner, seasonal parks maintenance, day camp staff, attendance for facility rentals, special events helpers, and many other important roles. Let's continue investing in our park system to invest in our community members. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Wendy Goodman. Good to see you.
Yes, it's good to be back. I told you I'd see you sooner than later.
Yes, you did.
I'm back. Mayor Ryder, Deputy Mayor Miller, and members of the City Council, I thank you for your time this evening. My name is Wendy Goodwin, and I'm a halfway mark, 25-year resident here at Lacey, former Parks, Culture, and Recreation Board Chair, and I conducted the park surveys, and I was a member of the Parks Improvement Funding Work Group, the PIFU. During my work, I am here to support the Council's approval for Resolution 1166, which would allow the creation of a Metropolitan Park District. During my work on commissions and work groups, I've heard community voices express the ways they wish to invest in our local parks and trails. The survey performed in 2021, PIFU and Lacey Parks Culture and Recreation Commission boards were formed and tasked with hearing these voices and implementing a fair, overarching use of tax money for the betterment of all. We have worked diligently to ascertain the equitable needs, excuse me, I lost my train of thought here, needs of the city, and ensured free public transportation is available to those who would like to use these spaces. The free events that Lacey has provided has also brought us together in so many ways. And as a Lacey resident, I would like to continue to have these available to me and my community. I love knowing that I can have an experience in my city, enjoy the outdoors, and use public transit fee free of charge because I pay taxes. By correlating community needs, budgets, funding, and resources, we have come to a time when we as a community must address the funding for updating, maintenance, and developing of our local parks. This mission of work to include preservation of green spaces, not just for our current residents, but the future generations to enjoy, and knowing that my tax dollars promote this work, vetted work, restores my faith in democracy for all. When bringing the Metropolitan Park District request to a community for vote, focus on the equitable distribution of resources and stay focused on the top agenda items by giving all members of our community access to funds that will benefit their families and preserve the beautiful green spaces we currently have. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Christina talking about Lacey Library.
Hello, good evening. I'm Christina Hancock from the Timberland Regional Library, the Lacey Library right behind us. And I'm sharing some news or some updates from our library for this month. And today is Library Giving Day. And so we're inviting the community to go to our website and purchase some merchandise, like some sweatshirts and some t-shirts. And all of the proceeds go directly to our general gift fund, which supports our mission to connect diverse communities to ideas, experiences, and each other. So beyond fundraising, we have a full calendar of events this month. Tomorrow we have our Animal Allies program where local animal services teach kids about fostering and rescuing animals, and sometimes they bring a furry friend, which is great for us as well. We have talk time every week, and that is to connect ESL learners with each other in a supportive space so they can, basically get better at speaking English in a room with other people that are learning as well. And then we are continuing our AARP tax help until April 12th, and that's every Thursday and Saturday from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. And people can make reservations or to get help. They can just walk in and get help as well. On April 12th, we have our PNW Fungi Crash Course, and that's for adults. Registration is full right now, but there is a wait list. We also have a plant and seed swap on April 18th from 1 to 4. You can bring some seeds, bring some plants, and start growing together. We have book babies and toddler time every week. That's every other day, typically Tuesdays and Thursdays. And at the end of the month, we have a home buyer certificate program, and that's hosted by WSECU and the Washington State Housing Finance Commission, and that will be on April 29th from 1 to 6 p.m. And we also have our summer library program coming up June 1st through August 31st. And all these wonderful programs are just a reminder that our library is more than books. We're a hub for learning, connection, and community. And that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving us an update. So next up, we have Michelle Gibson for the MPD.
Wow, first time at this podium. Lovely. But not the last, I'm sure. Deputy Mayor Andy and Deputy Mayor Miller and Council, City Manager, and neighbors. I'm here to speak in favor of, in support of Resolution 1166. How am I connected? In many ways, but I'm also an advocate for all things that make our community healthy And we're talking about the sustainability of the park system, and that's why we're all here. So I'll read as a representative for the Park Foundation of Thurston County tonight. Forming a Lacey Metropolitan Park District is beneficial county-wide. The other cities of Tumwater and Olympia already have respective MPD funding districts and are investing in their park systems. We want to work together to get Lacey to the same standard. As you know, Lacey is the largest city in the county now and just started construction on what will eventually be the largest park in Thurston County. A park that will need future investment to complete upcoming development phases and for maintenance and operations. In addition, during these uncertain times of unrest, people need stable, consistent, affordable access to parks that are close to home and that improve the standard of well-being. Please support Resolution 1166.
Thank you. Next, we have Jeff Prevost.
Hello, Mayor Ryder, Council, and staff. Thank you for having me. My name is Jeff Prevost. I am the founder of the Thurston County Pickleball Club. I am the commissioner of the Washington State Senior Games. I'm a United States Association of Pickleball Association ambassador for Washington State, and I'm also a parks advocate. I'm here to support Council's approval of Resolution 1166, which would allow the creation of a Metropolitan Park District. Our community has needs expressed by the community members, such as spray grounds, sports fields, disc golf courses, pickleball courts, pump tracks, and skate park components, to name a few. Once these facilities are built, funding is needed to maintain and operate them, particularly to keep up with the significant growth and be able to replace playgrounds and resurface courts as they age. It's true, Lacey has great parks and facilities, but there are a significant number of replacement projects needed, and where that funding will come from is currently unknown. I might be partial to pickleball because of the health and social benefits of the sport, but I understand the need for many very varied facilities and activities for the diverse community that we have here in Lacey. Let's invest in our assets so they last into the future for many generations to come. I personally believe that the community value of maintaining these assets will far outweigh the costs. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last person who signed up is Aaron.
Thank you, Mayor, hello, City Council, fellow Laceyonians. My family moved to Lacey in 1985. We moved to Brentwood mainly because of Wonderwood Park. And I am now a homeowner in Brentwood mainly because of Wonderwood Park. Having the chance to live next to the same park for almost 40 years, I've had the unique opportunity to see it grow, various playgrounds being put in, put out. And, you know, something that's always been very important to me is there is, if you have been in Lacey since the 1900s, the trail didn't always go around the baseball fields. It wasn't a cement trail. And then I left for 4 years and I came back and they had paved that. Now, that trail was made by me. I'm not gonna, me and my friends, we forged that trail over a decade of playing in that park, and to see it paved, something that I helped create, and you know, is a legacy that, you know, I hope, you know, will always stay with me. And now, being a park commissioner, I see the funding required just to make a little concrete trail that goes around, and there's more that can be done there, and there's more that needs to be replaced. And without a solid funding source like an MPD to ensure that Greg Cuyo Park has the same opportunity to have that evolution, and to make sure that our existing parks are still maintain the glory that they currently are. You know, I have a 13-year-old son. I want him to experience the same thing. He's never known a home that's not next to Wonderwood Park, and I Hopefully it'll be just about 18 years that he'll know that love. But you know, we have such an opportunity with Greg Cuyo Park to provide that for a Lacey that isn't even created yet. I mean, it's a 20-year plan, and I don't think it happens without some sort of solid funding source like this. So thank you for your opportunity.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to address this council this evening? Seeing none, then let's go into our main agenda item for today, which is Resolution 1166, our Lacey Metropolitan Park District. Rick.
Thank you, Mayor Ryder and City Council. Before you tonight is a draft resolution, resolution number 1166, which is the Lacey Metropolitan Parks District ballot measure. This resolution has come from many conversations stemming from the recommendation that the Parks Improvement Funding Work Group had issued at the end of 2024, and then the council have picked up and has several conversations since December of 2024 to tonight. The council at a previous work session directed staff to prepare a draft resolution that would set a ballot date of August 5th, 2025, general election, set the boundary of this proposed Metropolitan Parks District to be commensurate with the city municipal boundary, establish a levy rate of up to 45 cents per thousand assessed valuation for the purposes of creating the Lacey Metropolitan Park District, to provide ongoing funding to acquire, maintain, operate, and improve parks, natural spaces, trails, recreational facilities, and programs. The council did review this draft resolution at your last work session on March 25th and went through all the various whereases and the directional language. As a result of that discussion with the council directed staff to make some minor edits to the whereas statement within the draft resolution, and now that those draft edits are before you tonight. Specifically, council directed staff to revise the second to last whereas statement that originally read, the city desires to utilize these funds to expand maintenance and programs, create new facilities, and operate those facilities, the intent being to use these funds to supplement and not supplant existing parks and recreational funds. Council directed staff to strengthen that language a little bit more to remove the term desires and replace that with will. So tonight in the draft resolution, it would state, whereas the city will use these funds to expand maintenance and programs, create new facilities, operate those facilities, with the intent being to use these funds to supplement and not supplant existing parks and recreational funds. For tonight's purposes, again, the draft resolution is now before you as council directed. The council may take action on that resolution or further discuss the language and give direction to staff for further amendments or revisions. Staff recommendation is to move forward with adoption of Resolution 1166 that's before you tonight, and we have our Parks Director Jim Burbage as well as our City Attorney Dave Schneider on the line if there are any questions that council has of staff before you deliberate.
There's two things that we discussed at our last work session. One was to strengthen that whereas to say we will use these funds to expand maintenance and programs, create new facilities, operate those facilities, so on and so forth. And I see that we have strengthened that language, and it's reflected here. The other question happened to do with for low-income seniors, to make sure that there is a protection for them, and to get some clarification on what that process was. Was it something that we needed to write specifically into the ballot language, or was this something that would just be applied for later? Can you give me an update on where we're at on that before we?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Ryder, for bringing that up. I did want to clarify that tonight. I did have conversations with Thurston County Assessor staff today regarding whether we need to include language in the ballot measure that would provide an exemption for low-income seniors or veterans with disabilities. The assessor's office stated that the only time you put that in a county or city could put that in the ballot measure was if the local government was considering a levy lid lift under RCW 84.55.050. This formation of Metropolitan Parks District is not subject to that RCW. They did say that the levy that would be placed as a result of formation of Metropolitan Parks District would be considered a regular levy, and thus the existing programs that are in place by RCW and administered by the Thurston County Assessor's Office would apply to low-income seniors and veterans with disability. They'd make application to their office if they met age requirements and the income needs, then they would be qualified for exemption of any excess levy, as well as portions of the regular levy subject to their income thresholds.
And so, thank you for answering that. And I would recommend to the city manager that we do reach out to the assessor's office, and at some point, this summer when it gets a little bit closer, that we actually do a presentation here for this council and for the public to make sure that they understand what the process is to do that. It's not applying for something like that is maybe not every low-income senior knows about. And so I think it would be very beneficial for them to come and give a presentation, especially as we're talking about this issue, to make sure that they can apply for that if they meet those requirements.
I will coordinate with Assessor Drew in his office to see if we can arrange that, and then also look at including that under frequently asked questions too.
And so the only other quick issue before I take a recommendation for action here is normally on something like this I would wait for a full council to be here. However, just at our last work session, I think the majority of the council was there. We did direct the staff to make these changes. They have made these changes, and so I actually feel comfortable going forward on this, because I think the full council has been very direct on what they would like to see in this resolution, and I believe it's before us. So I just want to throw that out there where I feel comfortable, but I want to get direction from the council if you guys feel comfortable going forward as well.
Yeah, I think we really talked it and made sure that we wanted all the things that we wanted were presented to the city manager and the staff to sharpen up the language and make this happen.
Okay, can then I get a motion, please?
I would move to adopt Resolution 1166, providing for the submission of a proposition to the qualified voters of the City of Lacey at a general election to be held on August 5th, 2025 for the approval or rejection of the creation of a Metropolitan Park District pursuant to Chapter 35.61 RCW.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Go ahead.
I'm excited about this. We've been working on it for a while. In fact, I volunteered on the Parks Outreach Committee before I even was a part of this council while I was still on the Planning Commission. And it's very exciting for me to see this come to fruition. I feel like passing this resolution is another step down the road to gaining stable funding that will preserve and expand our parks. We issued 3 proclamations today. I think that's an opportunity to point out that we issued one on Arbor Day, which is focused on having healthy trees, one on Earth Day, which is to preserve our natural environment, and then one in support of fair housing access. And I think that taking this step to support funding for our parks actually is touched by all 3 of those sort of community values. Like Resolution 1166 is the confluence of some of those different issues. I've heard folks lament that as we consider density, as we embrace more housing of all different price points and sizes, that kids won't have yards anymore, right? And they're worried about kids not having access to a yard. But if we have vibrant and plentiful parks, then all of our kids in the community have access to green spaces, to trails and recreation. we can have density and fair and affordable housing and beautiful natural parks, healthy trees, and a resilient environment. If we do it right, we can have all those things. So I'm proud to be able to vote for this resolution. I want well-maintained, plentiful parks for my kids and for the children of all Lacey residents. And investing in parks is an investment in a healthy, equitable future for our community.
Very well said. Anyone else?
I can't top that.
Yeah.
I've been in favor of this from the very beginning in that I have kids who grew up here in Lacey, went to Lacey Parks, did all the Lacey Park and recreation programs in the summertime, and I'd love to see those programs expanded so that other kids can have that opportunity. I use the park system, and I enjoy using it. I get to see how many people are actually out there on a Saturday morning, rain or shine, doesn't matter, they're there. To be able to expand the park system for our residents is kind of a privilege in that, we do have like the lowest tax rate in the county, period. And even after this passes, we still will probably have the lowest tax rate in the county. And so this is something a huge benefit that's going to come to the community. I know that some of the parks do have deferred maintenance. We'll be able to shore that up. Some of the spaces that we had master plans for over 20 years ago, we may be able to see those plans actually get into action. So I believe in our model, a place to live, work, and play. And I would love to see that go from South Lacey all the way to the north end. I would love to see the splash pads. I'd love to see the early learning center out where the ball fields used to be, get off the ground and that project get going. I think it's going to bring a lot of attention to the area, and I think it's going to help us out as a whole economically, but not only that, for all the people who are looking for something to do, love using our parks. They're going to get an added bonus and an added benefit, and I love the fact that the seniors are going to be exempted from a good portion of the cost of this, and it's going to be, pretty. Our assessed value is at a point right now where we can actually do this and get the dollars that we need. And so I think the opportunity is right. I think the time is right, and I think that with these extra dollars on an annual basis, we will be able to do so much with these parks. So I've been in favor from the beginning.
Oh, thank you. Well, I've been in favor of the Metropolitan Park District funding for the city since the last time we proposed this. It was very evident at the time, looking into the future, that we were going to be the largest city, that we were going to continue to grow, and that we were going to need a stable funding source for our parks, as the prior councils before us, even at that time, had did an amazing job for many years setting aside funding to acquire parks. And through that foresight, the city of Lacey acquired park property all through the city and into our urban growth area. Then the council understood that, okay, we have now acquired a significant amount of park property. How do we turn that into blank property, to property that can be used by the public? Because it's not benefiting the public when you have large areas of property that are sitting there unused. And so I realized, and the council, majority of the council at the time realized, we're going to need a Metropolitan Park District. We sort of rushed to that, and I'll go back and I'll take full credit on that. We knew we needed it to do it. I was hoping that we had built enough goodwill with the community that they would sort of trust us on the process going forward. And that was the one criticism that we sort of heard, is that they didn't disagree with the need. They didn't think that we sort of went through a full process before going out to the voters. And so here we are, listening to the public. It barely didn't pass last time, but we listened to the public, and we went on the path where they suggested, where we pulled together a parks work group. We explained everything to them. Here's where we're sitting. Here's all of our park property that's not being developed. Here's our ongoing maintenance costs for our existing parks and the ongoing maintenance once you develop those parks. What is the best way, public, you believe we should achieve our community goals? And once again, it came back by going through that process that you need a Metropolitan Park District. I thank you for everyone who participated in that. And sometimes you do need to go through the process. And I'm glad we did. I'm glad that the public was involved and very supportive and saw everything that council saw last time we went through this and came to the same conclusion. There is a reason why cities form Metropolitan Park Districts. If we could do it within our regular levy, we would do it. But we do not have a lot of different funding sources within our general fund for community assets like our parks. This is one that is available to us, and I believe last time, this is what's best for the future generations of our community. So here we are again. I think we've even strengthened the language more than we did last time, and that's the other thing that we heard last time is they felt, are you going to use this funding to supplant existing funding? And we've fixed that, and I think it's very, very clear where we will utilize these funds to expand the maintenance and programs. And so that is, I think, important. We listened to the public on that, and we have that language there now. And so, and then you look at who came today and to testify about this resolution with, former Mayor Mark Brown, Ruth Weigelt, who's been supporting this community for 50 years, forever and ever, former Deputy Mayor Cynthia Pratt, and former Superintendent of North Thurston Public Schools, Deb Clemens. They're all here saying this is necessary for the quality of life of our community, and I agree, which is why I'm going to support this resolution. So it's been moved and seconded to adopt Resolution 1166. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Then that motion unanimously carries. And thank you, community, for all your work. Thank you. I really do appreciate it. I appreciate the whole community coming together and putting the work in. Parks Board, everyone, work group, you guys did an amazing job. I'm so proud to be your mayor. Okay, next agenda item, which is the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. First on my report tonight is a update on our climate and sustainability efforts. And with that, I would like to invite up Lindsay Fields, our climate and sustainability coordinator, to give a nice short presentation on some activities and developments of our climate initiative efforts. It's not that short. Take all your time.
I like how you said that. Nice short presentation.
I saw you have 7 slides. Well done.
Yes.
Haven't even started yet, but well done.
I'm getting really good at, getting my presentations to have a lot less words. So working on it. Work in progress.
I didn't mean it
I know. Good evening, Council. I am Lindsay Fields. I'm the Climate and Sustainability Coordinator here at the City of Lacey in Community and Economic Development. And I'm presenting tonight on basically the work that we've been doing the last year. I think I was at Council around this time last year, kind of giving the same sort of update on the programs and things that we've been working on over the past year. So with that, so the 2025 Lacey Work Plan, so this is specific to the Thurston Climate Mitigation Collaborative. So every year, each jurisdiction puts together a work plan, really for the work that we're going to do for 2025 across the city that sort of hits on or or at least in some way works towards reducing greenhouse gas emissions. It may not be its primary factor, like some of the transportation projects their primary motivator may be increasing transportation efficiency, but it has the added benefit of reducing greenhouse gas emissions. So we put this plan together. We work with Public Works. I think I've talked to 3 or 4 folks in Public Works and Operations and Community Economic Development, some of my cohorts, and other folks in the city just to get together the list. And this list is posted to the Thurston Climate Mitigation Collaborative's website, as are all of the work plans for each of the jurisdictions as well. And then we'll use this work plan next year, as we will use last year's work plan, the 2024 one, to create our annual report, which will come out mid-2025 for 2024. And then next year for 2025 will come out mid-2026. And so this work plan hits all of the Thurston Climate Mitigation Plan's sectors as well. So you'll probably see a lot of projects around energy and buildings. That's no surprise, because that's our largest greenhouse gas emitter in the region. So we do a lot of work around energies and buildings. And then transportation will be the second largest. It's our second largest greenhouse gas emitter. So we do a lot of work on that as well. And then water and wastewater actually has a couple of projects that are to increase efficiency, which have the added bonus of reducing greenhouse gas emissions. And then cross-cutting sectors, education, things that we've done that last year. So that's posted to the website now. You can go on and take a look. Anyone can. I hope you all do. Please feel free to email me questions if you have any. The Thurston Climate Mitigation Collaborative is probably a third of the work that I do, if I really start to think about how I parcel out my time and the work that I do here at Lacey for climate sustainability. And it's a big partnership that we have. We leverage a lot of staff time and resources to sort of regionally work on climate programs and implementing them together. And so in 2024, we sort of had our first full year of implementing our regional initiative, which would have been 2, so the Home Energy Score Model Ordinance, and then creating and now implementing Energize Thurston, which is a regional group purchase heat pump program, which also subsidizes, and we'll get into that in just a minute. So we do have a model ordinance now for the Home Energy Score. Jurisdictions are moving it through at various rates and processes depending on where we're at. Here at Lacey, we'll start working on that in 2026, just because it corresponds with our comprehensive plan update. I'll be back to council and commission a lot over the summer and the month. There might be some room to work on it at the end of the year and start having those conversations with council about what a model ordinance looks like, what it would need to look like here at Lacey. But really, we're hoping to plan that work for 2026. So it might push back implementation to 2027, but we're still in communication with the other jurisdictions, and so we're all just kind of putting it to our councils, working it through our legal staff and trying to figure out. But we do have a model ordinance, which each of the jurisdictions could adopt as is or change as needed. So that work is completed. As you'll probably remember, I brought an ILA for that work, I think maybe early 2024, but we did complete that work. We did a bunch of focus groups, a bunch of outreach, and then created this model ordinance. The other big sort of thing we worked on last year was creating Energize Thurston, which is expanding on Energize Olympia, which is a group purchase heat pump program that also now subsidizes low-income, moderate-income, and partially subsidizes low-income, moderate-income households to purchase, install, and do some electrical upgrades so they can install a heat pump, which is hopefully more efficient than some of the heating sources that they have. We launched March 8th-ish of this month. As of now, I think Lacey has 21 applications, which are all low to moderate income asking for full subsidization. So there's the potential that, so as you'll recall, we're using HERE funding for that. So we have around $418,000 minus HERE funding that we've already used for the match program, the Lacey match program. And some of that will be used for administrative costs for Habitat for Humanity because they're doing all of the intake, income verification. They're really taking all that workload from the staff. The rest of it will be used on fully subsidizing and partially subsidizing. We're hoping to subsidize altogether partial and fully around 40 homes, but that's really going to be dependent on each home's cost to maybe remove a gas furnace, electrical upgrades to the panel, putting the heat pump in, and then the size of the heat pump as well. But we're hoping for around 22 fully subsidized and 18 partially subsidized. So I might just go to my next slide because I think it has most of the information. So April 22nd, which I think is actually Earth Day, like federal Earth Day, Lacey will host its workshop for Energize Thurston at the Lacey Timberland Library. Some residents have already attended the Tumwater one. I think we had a few Lacey residents go to the Tumwater one in March. We also had Lacey residents attend the online workshop. We also have an on-demand workshop now so you don't have to wait until our 22nd workshop. You can go online, register for a workshop, attend the on-demand workshop, and then submit your application. The longer you wait, the more likelihood that we won't have funds if you're trying to fully subsidize, right? So it's a first come, first basis sort of program. And once we reach the funds allocated for that year, then we can't fully or partially subsidize. Obviously, we can do as many or a lot of the, like if you're paying it for yourself, you do get it like a 10 to 15% discount than you normally would get. And we can still do those, but it's just those partial and fully subsidized ones that you want to get on as quick as you can. You can click this link, register, learn more about Energize, and then attend that workshop and submit the application. Comprehensive plan updates have been taking up a lot of my time recently and will continue to take up my time, although we are nearing the end for my portion of the comprehensive plan, which is the creation of a new an element, the climate element, which includes 2 sub-elements. So this month, actually, we'll be coming back to council for a special work session, which will be a hoot, talking about greenhouse gas sub-element, policies and goals, draft policy and goals, and then the climate resilience sub-element, goals and policies as well, those draft goals and policies in which you'll have an opportunity to look those through, provide direction, what you'd like to see out of those as well. And then that'll sort of end that portion for the climate stuff as we hand it off when we package it all together this summer. And then we'll, take it to the community once again as a whole comprehensive plan, and then everyone will have the ability to comment on that again this summer. And then pushing towards, by the end of this year, adoption through the council. So fingers crossed on that. As you'll recall, we did get $350,000 of funding through Commerce to do that work. And so it's looking like the funding for HERE funding and for the climate planning stuff has moved through for reappropriation. We're just waiting for the final at the state level to make sure that those funds get reappropriated. But we're on track to finish the project that we have going for the climate resilience sub-element. So we still have that money and we still have that grant, but just waiting for the final say from the state on if that's going to be reappropriated. Our goal and our hope would be that HERE funding, since it's funded through Climate Commitment Act money, that it's sort of reappropriated year after year. So there's the potential to keep Energize Thurston going, utilizing HERE fundings and grant funding to do this program every year. Yes.
Weren't we waiting on Commerce to give us sort of a reset baseline for some of our goals, right? Because didn't we draw the line back in 2015, 16? Do you know what I'm talking about? And we were waiting to see if Commerce would have everyone sort of redo what the baseline was for setting their goals for the comprehensive plan.
For the greenhouse gas emissions?
Yeah, how we measure greenhouse gas emissions, what year we measure against.
We're supposed to be using 2022 levels now. And we'll be using and have utilized the Thurston County, the most recent greenhouse gas inventory that we did as part of the collaborative. Commerce really wants each city to do that, but it doesn't really make sense in this region for us to do a specific city one now, mostly because emissions don't stop at our jurisdiction. And, our cities sort of all kind of, we shop in Olympia, we shop in Lacey, we work in, and so there's a lot of commingling.
Interconnected.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And so our baseline year will be 2022, which is the new requirement by Commerce. So we've done surveys. We had the open house. We also did listening sessions with our consultants for the climate resilience sub-element. And that's some of the pre-work that we did to draft these goals and policies, and look forward to taking it to the community more broadly this summer as well. Community input. I've had quite a bit, and actually I think one of the top things we heard from the community this year, which may have been a little slightly different in the past, is that sustainability and the environment is like their top 4 concern moving forward, and really want us to plan better and more robustly in the future for sustainability initiatives. And so some of the things we've heard are people love Tree City USA status and just wanting to maintain that, questions around how we maintain that and making sure we do that. Some people have talked about an EV revolution, so we've heard a lot of comments about EVs and making it more accessible, chargers, some folks have talked about moving into how we make it accessible for multifamily units to have EVs as well. So those are some of the comments we're getting from the community. A lot of how do they participate in solar powers, especially if their roof isn't adequate enough to get panels. So some of the challenges we'll be facing in the next few years is around solar energy and renewable energy. And is equity considered in these plans? And so, yes, they are, and they're actually required per HB 1181 now with the climate element to consider environmental justice as well, like the HEAL Act, into the outreach and the plans and goals and policies. Questions? That's the end of my slides. See, I'm getting better.
Any questions? Go ahead.
What, if any, action have the other jurisdictions taken on the model ordinance for the energy audit?
Yes. I think Tumwater's sort of in a holding pattern. Their legal staff is reviewing it and trying to figure out what their next steps are. I think Olympia has done a work session with their council, and they're moving to a full council potentially for adoption. I think they've signaled that maybe they'll go ahead and adopt it within the year, the ordinance. And so having those conversations, well, what does it look like? And since it's a regional model ordinance, we could come on later, right? We could come on next year. It doesn't require that we adopt on the same schedule because we work together sort of to draft this language. But yeah, so that's kind of where they're at. And Thurston County, I'm unclear right now where they are. I think all of us sort of have these really massive competing deadlines and priorities, and the home energy score is just something that might be better just to wait as we have, especially with the comprehensive plan updates. We're all pretty.
Is that something that's like how do you get a home energy score from who do you get that? Yeah,
so part of the program that we worked out, and a lot of what we heard was around the workforce development piece, and so working with I forget the workforce development. We have a specific contact we've been working with. So in the model ordinance, in the program that we've designed, they would have to get certified for it. But it's easy to get certified if you're already doing home inspections, right? So home inspectors would be a really easy pathway to get energy credentials to do an energy score. The other thing is also we're using a Department of Energy, a federal program, right? And then, so just having some concerns, and I think Olympia Council's brought this up in the public forum as well, is this program going to be around in the next 2 to 3 years? And if it's not, what kind of scoring mechanism do we use for that? So those are some more conversations, like looking at different scores. If it's not the DOE score, right, what score do we use, and how do we make it, like the standards to get certified to do energy scores, and how do we do QA, QC, and make sure everyone's using the same criteria, things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks. Have a good night.
Thank you, Lindsay. I have one additional item that's not on the agenda, but it's the report out on an interlocal agreement I've signed on, I think, when did I sign that? Back on March 18th. It's routine in nature. This is a ILA to continue a renewal of our participation in the Thurston County Emergency Management Council. And what that Emergency Management Council does, it's another partnership, regional partnership with all the county and all the jurisdictions in Thurston County, all the cities and towns, and also includes the Chehalis as well as the Nisqually tribes to have convene and work together on best practices for preparing for emergency management, response and recovery, disasters, and when something does happen, that it's also a place to convene as well. It also works on education for the public and holds forums. This is, again, like I said, an extension of an existing interlocal agreement. It doesn't change our contribution to that matter. It's a very affordable cost. The budget itself is for the council is about $3,100. Each partner contributes on a per capita basis, so our annual payment is around $562 a year. I can see that growing over time. Also, it's important to have this structure in place because, as we're seeing in the review of FEMA, looking at there may be more emphasis on pushing a lot of the work and coordination and planning and response down to the local level. So having a structure in place will help deal with those issues going forward as well. So with that, I just wanted to report out. If the council has any questions, please let me know.
Okay, thank you. We're on to boards, commissions, and committee reports. I do not have a report, but I would like to see if we could set up a work session to talk about some protections, especially for low-income renters. This is the second time we've had people talk to us at public comment about concerns, and I know that we've received some feedback specifically from that unit, but we haven't really moved forward at all talking about specifically where I'm really sort of focused on is the people who are on the margins right now and trying to keep them in housing, and what is the best tool we use to make sure that happens. All understand there's some consequences, some unintended consequences when you do across the board restrictions, but I do think we need to have at least a conversation about what we could do to help protect and keep people in low-income housing, stay in low-income housing specifically. I think that is really, for me, one of my biggest concerns. And so I'd like to at least have that conversation with this council in a work session at some point.
I concur. I think we, Lacey last year, the year before, set aside some funding to subsidize mediation through the DRC to help folks that were facing potential eviction proceedings, landlords and tenants, figure out a way to resolve issues without needing to go to an eviction. That's one piece of something that can protect both landlords and tenants and keep people housed. But I think we should have a conversation about what else we can do to keep folks housed as much as possible, because it's such a better investment to keep people housed than to try to lift people up out of homelessness.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
I think Councilmember Cox.
I was just going to say, I totally agree. And this is something that has come up from time to time in the Regional Housing Council. And so I'm glad to see it hopefully growing legs.
Okay, Deputy Mayor?
Just one quick report. Let's see, EDC met last Wednesday. I believe that was the 27th. We met over at the Lacey Makerspace, and we had a special guest. The Department of Commerce Director, Joe Wynn, joined us. We welcomed him to the board, and City Manager was also in attendance. Director Wynn addressed the board on the topic of working to build strong ecosystem for entrepreneurial development, and ensure that the department was operating to support business development. He's been traveling, so he's been going to the different economic development councils to check in, see how they're doing, see that the DOC funding is being used well or working. And I think he found that with us, it is working really well, because the Thurston County EDC has a very extensive ecosystem in terms of who we contact, who we contract with, who we bring into our ecosystem. So there's somewhere in the neighborhood of 65 partners. So one of the other things that he said that he will be doing at the Department of Commerce is infusing AI into some of their grant processes. And so as it is right now, if you apply for a grant, you apply for the one grant. If you don't get the one grant, then you can go apply for a different grant in a different way. But that's going to change. And in the future, if you apply for one grant and you don't get that grant, whether you get that grant or not, you'll know what other grants you might be eligible for because of the AI system. So I think what it'll do, it'll streamline and it'll actually help more grant dollars flow. In terms of legislative items, we're following and tracking, a few bills. Staff has had several meetings, to voice concerns about the state's economic competitiveness and vibrancy. Some of the dollars are federal, some of those dollars are state that we use at the EDC, and there's quite a few grant dollars. The federal government funds the Apex, and so that's our accelerator program. And fortunately, those dollars come from defense, which is the one area where funds are not getting cut, I guess. So we're hopeful about that, and we'll continue to monitor, the legislative session and see where dollars are rising and falling. State funding issues, scale up is still undetermined. That's a $300,000, well. I'll be able to give more information on that after this session is done. The Alliance Northwest Conference happened the week before, which was a great conference. It was held up in the Tacoma's, what is the name of their building? I know the address is 1500 Commerce, which was ironic, and because I remember it's in my GPS. The attendance was over 1,000 people. There was 31 speakers, over 150 exhibitors, 18 breakout sessions, and this is an annual event that the EDC puts on that has really gained traction because several years ago the event maybe had 50 vendors and maybe had 300 people attending. So the EDC has really, as the ecosystem grows, so does Alliance Northwest. One of the things that we notice now that people are coming from much further out of state and having their booths shipped in. Many people having many connections. The city of Tumwater even had a booth. Port of Seattle had a booth. Lots and lots of different organizations are finding value in the Alliance Northwest Conference. Let's see. The EDD, the Economic Development District, our new Economic Development District, is getting up and running and has identified some low-hanging fruit in the grant world, and hopefully, as Annette prepares to get those grants walking, we will be able to get some traction and bring some of those federal dollars to our new economic development district. As you guys know, this is the first time Thurston County has been in a federal economic development district. So everything that we've done in this county hasn't had EDD dollars at all, whereas every other county in the state of Washington pretty much belongs to a federal economic development district. We do not until now. And so hopefully with this thing standing up, we'll be able to bring in federal dollars that will help with some of the infrastructure in our counties. The next EDC Board of Directors meeting will be on April 23rd at noon to 1:45, and it'll be held at the EDC offices. And that is my report.
Thank you. Councilmember Cox.
Okay. Just one report. This is on the March 19th meeting of the Intercity Transit Authority. It was pretty routine business. We authorized the general manager to execute a contract amendment with the legal firm that represents us there. We also authorized her to purchase 79 Aero bus barriers. These are to protect drivers. It's sort of a plexiglass encasement there. So that was a $710,000 plus purchase. We also authorized the general manager to increase the contract with a firm called KPFF by $374,000. This is for a revised contract for about $500,000, and this is for electronic real-time messaging that's going to be coming to the transit centers, and starting with Olympia, but coming to Lacey as well. And having ridden the bus a few times myself, it would have been really nice, because I don't ride as much as I should probably, so not enough to get really comfortable with how things work, and I could see real benefit there. Just one other piece, the general manager kind of walked us through, because there's been real concerns about federal and state funding. Our state budget is short, and there's been all these federal cuts as well. So for 2024, Intercity Transit received just under $20 million in state and federal grants. A little over $13 million of that was federal, and state was a little over $5.5 million. So these funds went to replace dial-a-lift vehicles, to the Smart Corridors project, for the ongoing construction project at the Patterson Street headquarters, and the walk and roll operations. So those are pretty key programs that could potentially bite the dust if that funding doesn't come through. So we are also working with federal and state lobbyists to try to secure funding for those things, but thought you ought to know that's on the chopping block, potentially. Also, we are going to be having in May the community bike challenge coming up. So stay tuned for details on that. And that's my report.
Thank you. Councilmember Vasquez.
No report to speak of, really. Lindsay provided a report on what's going on with the Thurston Climate Collaborative. We have a Thurston Regional Planning Council meeting on Friday, wherein we will be probably taking action to put out our regional transportation plan for public comment and review. It's the 2050 Regional Transportation Plan. So if folks want to know what the future of Thurston County's transportation system looks like and the projects that are on the docket for the next 30 years, I'd encourage you to check that out in the near future. That's it.
Well, and before we end tonight's meeting, I just want to say congratulations to you on your promotion and your new job. So congratulations, well deserved.
Hey, thanks.
Okay, with that, we have reached the end of our agenda. It was really great to hear from our community today about the support of the Metropolitan Park District. And so I encourage our community to continue to be active, and I appreciate all they do. So with that, we've reached the end of our agenda. Without objection, I'll call this meeting adjourned. And as always, you keep it classy, Lacey.